Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Sri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. Dear student, today we are going to discuss one of the important topic of this chapter, that is environmental issues. Okay, and in that, as we know, we are studying pollution. Then we are going to discuss here specifically the air pollution. Okay, so air pollution we are going to discuss here. So if you talk about air pollution, or we can call it as also atmospheric pollution as well. It is defined as a occurrence or presence of any material or a gas in the air in such a concentration which is harmful to man or vegetation, means plants. It can be harmful to the animals and then to the environment. Then we consider it as a type of pollution. So occurrence or presence of any material, either it can be a gas or any material can be there. And if such materials are there and have a harmful effect on the man, vegetation, animal, and environment, and their increase, gradual increase is also observed, and it is known that with the gradual increase in the number of industries and automobiles, air pollution has now reached a menacing proportion, means a very high proportion in the big cities, like we can say the big cities and the industries centers. So first, if we want to understand this air pollution, we have to discuss some of the causes of air pollution. We have to discuss that what are the components of the particular pollution, what are the pollutants, how they are classified, how we can control that pollutants. These are all things we are going to discuss here. So first we are going to discuss the causes or a source of air pollution. So various sources of air pollution are there and they are discussed as follow. First one is the fossil fuel and the fibers. As we know, the incomplete and complete combustion of the carbon content of the fossil fuel, wood, and charcoal that produces the carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide along with the sulfur dioxide. So mainly the fossil fuels and fiber, when undergo a combustion, they produce a carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and sulfur dioxide. So these are when enriching or increasing in the concentration in the environment. Obviously, we can say they are causing a pollution. Apart from this, emission from vehicles, that is emission from the automobiles, locomotives, aircraft, and exhaust in the cities constitute the major part of the total air pollution. These are the also factors which are responsible for the causing air pollution. Apart from the emission of vehicles, industries are also one of the important causes of air pollution because industries add various harmful gases like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, nitrogen oxides, and hydrocarbons, and small particles of dust, carbon, metal, radioactive material. All these are also added to the atmosphere by industries. So, from fossil fuel, from the emission of vehicle, then from the industries, all these are responsible for the causing of what we can say this particular air pollution. Now, natural sources are also responsible for this air pollution, as we discussed. Volcanic eruptions are there, forest fires are there, natural, organic, and we can say inorganic decays are there, marsh gases are there, pollen grains of flowers are there, fungal spores are there. These all are responsible for the particularly we can say this natural these reserves are also responsible for the pollution. And apart from these metallurgical processes for the extraction of different metals which are involved that are also playing an important role in adding so many pollutants to the air. So these all are the different causes of air pollution. Now, these causes are responsible for releasing the so many pollutants. So now we are going to discuss the pollutants. Now we are going to discuss the pollutants. So if we discuss pollutants, the common air pollutants and their effect, if we discuss, they are basically of two types. Gaseous materials can be act as a pollutants or particulate matter can be that. Okay. So first we are going to discuss the gaseous materials which are a gaseous air pollutants. We are going to discuss a gaseous air pollutants. Now, if we discuss about the gaseous air pollutant, then primary air pollutant are there, and these are known as, first one is the carbon monoxide. First one is the carbon monoxide. This is the primary air pollutant. As it is released, it is going to be act as a pollutant. And in gaseous form, obviously, this is acting as a pollutant. So now, first carbon monoxide is there, and obviously we know that is the product of incomplete combustion of fossil fuel. It is a product of incomplete combustion of fossil fuel like charcoal and coal mines, and 50% emission are contributed from the automobiles. Okay, so carbon monoxide release, carbon monoxide is a gaseous air pollutant, obviously a primary air pollutant. As it is released, it is going to be act as a pollutant, and we know its side effects so many. So it is a product of incomplete combustion, not a complete combustion. Incomplete combustion is going to release this carbon monoxide, and 50% emission are contributed from the automobiles. Now it is known that when it reacts with the hemoglobin, it produces a carboxyhemoglobin, and due to which the O2 carrying capacity of the hemoglobin is going to be reduced, because O2 is not able to bind with the hemoglobin because already hemoglobin is occupied by the carbon monoxide. And compared to O2, carbon monoxide has a higher efficiency of binding with the hemoglobin. So O2 carrying capacity of the blood getting going to be reduced, and due to the decrease in the availability of oxygen, it results in the giddiness, the decreased vision can be observed, headache can take place, cardiovascular malfunction can be observed, and asphyxia can also happen due to the deficiency of the oxygen. Okay. Now, in this, the another pollutant, air pollutant are a primary air pollutant are hydrocarbons, or we can call them as a volatile organic compounds or carbons. Now, these hydrocarbons are produced naturally, example CH4, okay, or due to the incomplete combustion of unburned discharges. Okay, incomplete combustion occurs, and if unburned discharges are released, they are going to release hydrocarbons. So it is known that these hydrocarbons may lead to produce a secondary pollutant as well. And it is known that when combined with the nitrogen oxides and benzene and HCHO, that particularly are a carcinogenic. And they also cause the irritation of eye, mucous membrane irritation, and causes a bronchial constriction as well. Okay, so hydrocarbons, which is released by the incomplete combustion of non discharges or by naturally, that is going to some of these defects. And it is known that HCHO, the hydrocarbons released from the newly formed carpet, lead to the indoor pollution. Means some hydrocarbons are released from the newly formed carpets. Okay, and these newly formed carpets are also responsible for this particular disease. Now, another air pollutant are the SO2, that is sulfur dioxide. It is known that this sulfur dioxide is produced during the combustion of sulfur containing fossil fuels. Means whatever the sulfur containing fossil fuels are there, if they undergo combustion, or we can say smelting of ore take place, or it can be released from the oil refineries as well. So it is known that SO2 causes the eye irritation. Severe respiratory problems are also caused by this SO2, and it inhibits the ETS, electron transport system in plants. That is the need during the respiratory pathway. Now, also it is known that SO2 is responsible for classical smoke or London smoke. We will discuss it is a sulfurous smoke, and acid rain and stone cancer are also caused due to the availability of SO2. SO2 is also known to cause a pheophytization in lichen. Now, pheophytization in lichen means the chlorophyll is get converted into the pheophyte. We know that without chlorophyll, light reaction cannot occur, and without light reaction, dark reaction is not going to occur. So, if the chlorophyll is there, and if from chlorophyll, if you remove the magnesium or magnesium get oxidized, it get converted into pheophyte. And if the amount of pheophytin increases, if the amount of pheophytin increases and chlorophyll is decreasing, then the light reaction is not going to happen and dark reaction will not occur. And if dark reaction will not occur, then the food is not going to synthesize. And if food is not going to synthesize, the algal partner will die. And if algal partner will die, fungal partner is also going to die in the lichen. So this pheophytization is also known as a conversion of chlorophyll into pheophytin in the lichen. So their absence is indicator of SO2 pollution. Obviously, SO2 causes phosphatization lichen. So their particularly in a particular area, if there is a SO2 pollution, the lichen will not grow. Okay, so they are the indicating lichens are the important indicator of the SO2 pollution. This may cause a discoloration, deterioration of building also. Sculptured yellowing of Taj Mahal is reported to be caused by SO2 pollution released by the Mathura oil refinery. Okay, Mathura oil refinery is responsible for releasing this, we can say, pollutions. Now, apart from this, the next air pollutant is nitrogen oxides. Mainly, nitrogen oxides are produced during the combustion of the fossil fuels in a high temperature in automobile engines. So automobiles are responsible for the production of nitrogen oxides. Okay, mainly nitrogen oxide and NO2. NO2. Now, nitrogen oxides cause the brown air that leads to heart and lung problems. Okay, so this is responsible for the heart and lung problems. Now, after primary air pollutant, next we discuss about the secondary air pollutant. Now let's discuss secondary air pollutant. Secondary air pollutant actually formed by a reaction between a two primary pollutant. So primary pollutant react and form a secondary air pollutant. And it is also known as this secondary pollutant are often more toxic. Like oxides of nitrogen, suppose nitrogen oxides react with the hydrocarbon in the presence of sunlight, they are going to produce a peroxyacyl nitrate and ozone. Okay. So this reaction of nitrogen oxides, that is the primary pollutant, and hydrocarbon, that is the primary pollutant, that is going to produce a peroxyacyl nitrate and ozone, which are the secondary pollutants. In troposphere, the O3 or ozone is a chemical weed. It is a chemical weed and it causes eye irritation and sometimes to fatal as well. Okay, so it is also one type of pollutant and we can call it as a secondary air pollutant. While peroxyacyl nitrate, they have so many damaging effects on eyes and may induce a respiratory distress also. So eye irritation and are mainly by the O3 as well as peroxyacyl nitrate have a damaging effect on the eyes. Respiratory problems they also cause, and one of the important thing that you should remember that they inhibit ATS in chloroplast. This is the one of the important points that sometimes you will see in exam. It may result into sulfuring and glazing of the leaves because the chloroplasts are going to be ETS is going to be inhibited, and in the absence of ATP, the particularly metabolic activities of chloroplasts are going to be affected. Apart from this, if we talk about a smog, which is an opaque or dark fog having the smoke, dust, water vapor, and gases. So these are combining. So we can call smoke also as a secondary air pollutant. Okay. So what is primary air pollutant? They are released and directly if they are acting as a pollutant, they are a primary air pollutant. And in this, we have discussed a gaseous primary air pollutant like carbon, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, hydrocarbon, and carbon monoxide. Now, secondary air pollutant we have discussed that is this one, and they are also gaseous. Now, in secondary air pollutant, we take example of the acid rain. It is also the pollutant which are formed. They are a secondary in origin. Now, so let's discuss about this acid rain. Okay, the term acid rain was given by Robert August, and why it is calling as acid rain? Because it is a rainfall with the pH less than 5.65. It has a pH less than 5.65. That is the acidic pH of this rain. So because of this, they are calling it as acid rain. Now the question is why it is acidic in nature? Because it has the oxides of sulfur and nitrogen. And this oxides of sulfur and nitrogen make them acidic in nature. There are two types of acid deposition. One is wet deposition and one is dry deposition. It is known that about half of the acidity in the atmosphere is transferred to Earth through the dry deposition. Okay, there are two types of acid deposition. One is a wet deposition, one is dry deposition, and We will discuss what is the difference between these two. But about half of the acidity in the atmosphere which is present, that is of transfer to the earth, that is due to the dry deposition. It is known that 65% acid rain is due to the SO2 emission, 30% due to the nitrogen oxide, and 5% due to the release of hydrogen chloride, that is, and from the chemical industry. So, major component which is responsible for the majority of acid rain, that is a sulfur dioxide, then to the nitrogen oxide. The least acid rains are caused due to the hydrogen chloride. The acid rain, when fall on the certain earth surfaces, it is going to damage the foliage or leaves of the particular plants, then growing points of the plant. It is also going to cause a leaching of the essential minerals of the soil. Essential minerals are going to be washed off. Sometimes it corrode metal, marble, painted surfaces, slate, and stone, etc. And if it corrodes such things, specifically stone, then it is known as stone leprosy. It is also known as stone leprosy. So this is the acid rain due to the acidic substances. Now the question is how this acid rain is formed and how it is, what is wet deposition, what is dry deposition. Okay. So actually, if we talk about the acid rain, then acid rain is a cocktail of H2SO4, that is a sulfuric acid, and HNO3, that is nitric acid. And it is also known that the ratio of these two, H2SO4 and HNO3, may vary depending on the relative quantities of the oxides of sulfur and nitrogen are going to be emitted. On an average, 60 to 70%, on an average, 60 to 70% of acidity is due to H2SO4. And 30 to 40% due to HNO3. Now, what happens in the dry and wet deposition that we have to discuss? So, suppose this is the, we can say, atmosphere cloudy area which has a gaseous and particulate pollutant in atmosphere. So we can call air pollutants are there. Both we can say the air, particulate matter and gaseous one. Okay. Now this is the, we can say what, a surface of Earth, and this surface of Earth have some of the industries. Okay. Apart from this, some plants are also there. And this is a lake. Okay. And then again, this is the surface. Now over surface, you can see the particular plants are growing. Now what happens? Suppose wind take a particular. So first discuss air pollutant that can be of two types. The deposition of acid rain can be two types: dry deposition or wet deposition. Now in wet acid deposition, H2SO4 and HNO3 droplets in rain, fog, and snow are found. And these droplets are going to fall on the trees. And another way is the dry deposition. And in dry deposition, SO2, NO3, SO4 are there. That is a through wind, they are going to reach the particular over the tree. So wind blown acidic gases. Okay. So through this, they are going to fall on the particular trees. Now from this, they are going to reach the lake and ultimately this one. But from where this particular HNO3 and gas, there is the release of nitrogen oxides and SO2 by the particular industry. So this industry release SO2, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter that all reaches to the atmosphere and the acidic substances are formed. Okay, and obviously this happens in the presence of sunlight. Okay, now here further it is also known that release of aluminum in surface soil take place and sulfur and nitrogen deposition take place that lead to leaching of calcium, magnesium, nitrogen oxides, NO3 and SO4 to dip soil. Okay, so this is the way the dry and wet deposition of this take place, and we have studied that the release of aluminum soil surface which is the nearest water body, and soluble aluminum is toxic to the feces, and that cause a death of some of the feces as well. Okay, so this way the acid rain takes place. Now another thing, so acid rain is one type of invisible threat. Now another thing is that is a smog. Okay, that is also one type of secondary pollutant. Okay, so if we talk about a smog, it is a opaque or dark fog having dust, water vapor, and gases. So it is a opaque and dark fog which have a dust, water vapor, and gases. And obviously known that this smog is of two types. Number one, that is a photochemical smog. And another one is the second one, that is London smog or classical smog. Okay, so we are going to discuss this fog. So obviously it is a dark fog or opaque fog which has a dust, some water vapor is also there, and some gases are also there. So a mixture of this dust, water vapor, and gases is nothing but a smog. And it is of two types, that is photochemical and London. First, we are going to discuss the photochemical smog. This photochemical smog, if we talk, it is formed in traffic congested cities, traffic congested cities where warm and intense solar radiation are present. So wherever the warm region is there, congested cities obviously have a warm region, warm surface, and also according to them, warm conditions are there, and intense solar radiation is present due to which they have warm conditions. Now it is known that photochemical smogs mainly it has mainly O3, peroxyacyl nitrate, and nitrogen oxide. These are mainly present in this particular photochemical smog. It is called brown air or gray air when solar radiation is intense. Radiation is intense or lesser respectively. So when the solar radiation intense, it is known as brown air, and when that is a particularly lesser, it is known as gray air. Now, when it has obviously O3 and peroxycyl nitrate and nitrogen oxide, it is known that O3 corrode the or it causes a corrosion of heritage building surfaces and damage marble status. Apart from this peroxycyl nitrate, it is caused known to inhibit ETS and it damages chloroplast. It damages chloroplast. Okay. So this way, the particularly whole the photochemical smoke is known in this particular cities. Now another smoke is London smoke. This photochemical smoke is mainly seen in Los Angeles, so it is also known as Los Angeles smoke. This photochemical smoke, also known as Los Angeles smoke. Apart from this, the second smoke which we are going to discuss here, that is London smoke or classical smoke. This London smoke or classical smoke, it occur at low temperature. It occur at low temperature and it contains H2S and SO2. It is known that it has a reducing environment, and in the London smoke, secondary pollutants have no role. So secondary pollutants are not found here, so they do not have a role in London smoke for this. Okay. So this is the thing which is seen in case of the particularly we can say the London smoke and classical smoke. That is about a primary pollutant. Now the and secondary pollutant and gaseous matter. Now the air pollutant can be in the form of particulate matter, which is not a gaseous form. So what is this? What are these particulate matter? So these are added into air by industries, automobiles, and by many operations like blasting, drilling, crushing, grinding, mixing. All these techniques that are going to add the particulate matter. So these pollutants are not gaseous; they can be solid or liquid. So solid or liquid particles or solid or liquid air pollutants, we can call them particulate matter. Now these are differentiated into two categories. One is settlable and one is suspended. So which one is going to settle? Obviously, that should have a greater size. So the size greater than or equal to 10 micrometer that settle out in less than 1 day because they are heavier particles or a heavier particulate matter. So they settle within a 1 day because of their size that is greater than or equal to 10 micrometer. But suspended, they remain in air for some time because they have a size less than or equal to 10 micrometer. So they remain in air for a week. Okay. But settleables get settled easily within a day. So if we talk about some particulate matter and if we discuss about their examples, they are given you. First, we are going to discuss the aerosols. What are they? These are the vapor chemicals, aerosols, air means they are the vapor chemicals. And they are in the form of fluorocarbons, chlorofluorocarbons, oxides of sulfur, nitrogen related to the air, with force by the emission of the jet or supersonic aeroplane emission. This all whatever they are going to release, the vapor chemical they are releasing the form of fluorocarbon or a chlorofluorocarbon or oxides of sulfur or nitrogen, they are releasing there with the force by the emission of jet or the supersonic aeroplane emissions that are considered as aerosols. Now fog is an aerosol of water droplet in the air. Obviously, it is aerosol because the water droplet is some of the chemicals. And aerosol are also used as a disinfectant in the refrigeration. They are all used or in the formation of certain solid plastic foams they are also going to be used. So this is the first particulate matter, that is the aerosol. Another particulate matter is the smoke. Similar to dust, smoke is obviously similar to dust, but it contains a visible suspension of carbon and other particles, which are given up by the burning and smoldering of organic matter. So burning and smoldering of organic matter is going to release the carbon and other particles suspension. And that suspension is visible in the air, that is known as smoke. But when smoke reacts with some chemical fumes and a fog, it is going to form a smog. So smog is a what? Combination of smoke. It is a combination of smoke, chemical fumes, and the fog. It is known that the smoke remains suspended for many days because it is a lesser in size and it is a suspended metal and envelops the entire industrial area like a thick blanket due to the stagnant air. Sometimes might be you have seen that a particular industrial area is there, whole black dark color air is there or greenish color air is there. A dark suspension are seen in the air around this particular industrial area that are nothing but a smoke. Now, when smoke is released, and if that comes in human contact, it produces respiratory problems in the humans, such as asthma and bronchitis, are caused due to the smoke. Smoke does not allow a clear view of the nature beauties because the smoke is a suspension light, so in this the visibility is not proper. And it is also known that power stations throughout a large amount of fly ashes, that is a fine particulate matter, passes out along with the gases during the burning of coal. So burning of coal when happens along with the gases, this particulate matter are released, which are known as fly ashes by the power station. So smoke aerosol is the first particulate matter. Second one is the smoke. The third one is the dust and mist. So if we talk about the dust and mist, what is the difference between these? Dust is more than 1 micrometer and mist is more than 1 micrometer but liquid. And dust is somewhat solid. So dust is solid, mist is somewhat liquid. Mist is a size more than 1 micrometer, and the dust also has a size more than 1 micrometer. Now, this dust and mist are releases from the industry and may cause a variety of diseases like cotton. Dust produces a lung fibrosis called a bisimum. So lung fibrosis due to cotton dust is known as bisimum. So you have to remember this. These things are important. Okay, just many things because they will ask questions from this particular topic. Important. So bisonosis, that is the lung fibrosis by the cotton. Lung fibrosis is produced in other industries which include asbestosis. That is also lung fibrosis, but in the asbestos industry due to the asbestos problem. Silicosis is the stone grinders are usually affected because there is lung fibrosis due to the silicon. Siderosis in iron mill, the siderosis happens. Coal miner pneumoconiosis and the floor mill pneumoconiosis also seen. This all lung fibrosis or lung disease are observed due to the dust or mist. Okay. Manganese poison has been reported in welders as well. Okay, so this all poisoning you should remember. They will ask this question in the match the following part. Okay, so you should remember this. And apart from this other pollutants, if you talk, they are the pollen, spores, cysts, and bacteria. Airborne organic constituents like pollens are there, spores are there, cysts are there, fungi is there, bacteria is there, and fur is there. All these are the particularly airborne organic components. They may cause allergic reaction. They are known to cause allergic reaction, bronchial asthma, emphysema, tuberculosis, and lung cancer. Also, they can lead to the lung cancer. And the number increases in certain season. A particular pollen grain allergy is seen in this particular season only. Skin allergy and asthma-like diseases are very common from Parthenium. Parthenium is the one plant in India which is particularly one considered as one type of allergen. And its allergy due to its pollen grain, it is commonly known as a hay fever. That is a pollen allergy from this Parthenium, and it is very common. Now, so this is all about what a pollutant. First, we have what we have talked about a pollute, for particularly pollution, air pollution, and the causes of air pollution we will discuss, and then we have discussed the air pollution for a particular pollutant. Now we are going to discuss that how we can control this air pollution. So in the topic that is the control of air pollution. So control of air pollution, if we talk, first in control, we are going to talk about the separation of pollutant from the harmful gas. If some pollutants are there, okay, and obviously they are associated with the gases. So we have to separate that particular pollutants from the gases. So first, in that, what we can do, so we can use a control equipments in industries, such as gravity settling tanks. We can use in the cyclone collectors, remove and precipitate large and small polluting particles, and thus minimize the air pollution. So by control equipment in use industry, they help us to remove the or minimize the air pollution. Then precipitation of large and small pollutants particles can also lead to the minimization in the air pollution. And if we want to minimize this air pollutant, one important control equipment, that is the electrostatic precipitator are used in thermal power plants. Electrostatic precipitators are used in thermal power plants. Now, these electrostatic precipitators are known to remove over 99% particulate matter present in the exhaust from the thermal power plant. So, whatever the thermal power plant are going to release the exhaust, this electrostatic precipitator can remove a 99% particulate matter from that exhaust of the thermal power plant. So, how they can remove? So, this is the electrostatic precipitator, and we are here going to understand. Suppose this is the dirty air. Okay. Now, this is the electrostatic precipitator. In this, what happens here? These are the dust particles, and this are the negatively charged wires. And this negative charged wires are maintained at a high voltage. Then this are the plates, collection plates, and this collection plates are grounded, which are positively charged. Now, what happens? These negatively charged wires are there, which are negative electrodes. Now, when the high energy voltage are given to this negative electrode, they carry out corona discharge. And when corona discharge occurs, they are going to release the electrons from their outer orbital. Now, these electrons attach to this particle. And as this dirty air passing through this dust particle attached with the electron, and the net negative charge is given to dust particle. So as the dirty air passes through this, the particularly dust particles which have the negative charge, they are going to be getting attached with this collection plate grounds. So means the dust particles are going to be attached with the electrons here, and the proper air, clean air is going to be obtained on the other side. So this way, electrostatic precipitated by discharge, producing the discharge corona, the dirty air getting purified. So what is that? They have electrode wires that are maintained several thousand volts, which produce a corona that releases a electron. This electron attaches to the dust particle, giving them net negative charge. The collecting plates are grounded, and they attract the charged dust particles. The velocity of air, this is the one of the important, the velocity of air between the plates must be as low enough to allow the dust to fall or settle down. Okay, then only we can get a clean air. Another equipment is the scrubber. Scrubber can remove the gases like sulfur dioxide. Okay, sulfur dioxide can be removed by this particular gases. So in a scrubber, the exhaust is passed through the spray of water and lime. You can see in this diagram that this is the dirty air. This dirty air passed here. Okay, this is the particular dirty air passed here, and that is passed through the spray of water and lime. Okay, water lime spray is there. It is passed through this. So as it is passed through this, sulfur dioxide get fall off, and clean air is obtained. Okay, so particulate matter are collected here. Okay, so this way, as a passing through the water line, as passes through the particularly water line, this sulfur dioxide. Okay, so the industries which produce a SO2 as a byproduct must have a scrubbing mechanism installed in them. And it is known that in this effluents containing sulfur dioxide, which are we are providing here, dirty air in the form, they are passed through the slurry of water. Water lime spray is slurry of water and crushed limestone. Okay, so this is a slurry of water and crushed limestone, that is calcium carbonate. Now the calcium in the limestone that is going to chemically react with the sulfur to produce a calcium sulfate. So as SO2 react with CaCO3, it is going to produce CaSO4. Okay, and which is collected separately. Okay, so this way the particular this scrubber works. Now it was also observed that recently we have realized the danger of particulate matter due to these many things, and that are very small and are not removed by this precipitation. They are not removed by this precipitation. They are also very dangerous. So according to the CPCB, this is one of the important statement which we have to remember. According to CPCB, that is the Central Pollution Control Board, particulate matter with the size 2.5 micrometer or less in diameter are responsible for causing the greatest harm to the human health. So whatever the particulate matter, and this was the Neet question, Neet it was already asked. Okay, so these fine particulates can be inhaled deep into the lungs and can cause a breathing and respiratory symptom. They can cause irritation, inflammation, and damage the lungs, and premature death can also be happen. Okay, so these are the some of the things which we have to remember. Now, at last we talk about the catalytic converters. Okay. As we know, the automobile exhaust are the major cause of atmospheric air pollution. Okay. So catalytic converters have expensive metals, namely platinum, palladium, rhodium, and they convert the nitrogen oxide to nitrogen and carbon monoxide to the CO2. How this taken? So here they have costly these metals, palladium, rhodium, and platinum, and this act as a catalyst. So what happens? The exhaust gases they are first pass through catalytic converters, then these exhaust gases are released. In the catalytic converters, what happens? The hydrocarbons which have been left unburned are oxidized to produce carbon dioxide and water. Such a way carbon dioxide is evolved. Further, it is also known that carbon monoxide is oxidized to form CO2. Nitrogen oxide split into the nitrogen gases. So it is known that it is also important that automobile fitted with catalytic converter should not use leaded petrol because lead inactivates the catalyst. Because of this, we should remember that the automobiles which has a catalytic converter, they should use the unleaded petrol. Now, so to control the vehicular air pollution, we have to talk about some important case studies. And in this, we are talking about the case study of Delhi. As we know, so vehicular air pollution is also one of the important cause, automobile exhaust is one of the important cause of air pollution. So if we want to control this vehicular air pollution, what we can do? So we first understand one case study of Delhi. As we know, Delhi leads the country in its level of air pollution, and it has more cars than the states of Gujarat and West Bengal put together. Because too much population in a small area is found, and so many people from different areas reach there for different purposes. So in the 1990s, Delhi ranked fourth among the 41 most polluted cities of the world. In the world, Delhi is ranked fourth. Air pollution problem in Delhi becomes so serious that a public interest litigation, that is the PIL, was filed in the Supreme Court of India by some individuals. It is known that after being censored, the government was asked to take within a specified time periods appropriate measures to reduce this pollution, which include the switching over of the entire fleet of public transport, that is buses, from diesel to the compressed natural gas, that is the CNG. Okay, so this due to this PII, government was waken up, and the Supreme Court given ultimately particular suggestions to the government that they have to take focus on this particular, we can say, the appropriate this point, and we have to take appropriate action. And one thing that was given by a Supreme Court to the government, that they have to convert or switch from over buses transport from diesel to the compressed natural gas. And it was known that all the buses of Delhi were converted to run on CNG by the end of 2002. In the end of 2002, all the buses were running on CNG. So the question is, why we are focusing on the CNG? Why we are switching from the diesel to the CNG? So what are the advantages of CNG that we have to discuss? So if we discuss that advantage is, it is known that CNG burns more efficiently. It burns most efficiently. Apart from this, CNG is cheaper than the petrol and diesel. CNG is cheaper than the petrol and diesel. Apart from that, it cannot be siphoned off by thieves and cannot be adulterated like petrol and diesel because the gaseous one. So gas cannot be adulterated and it cannot be uh, siphoned off by the thieves. So these are the what a particular advantage. But this fourth one is the problem. And the problem that government which has faced is the difficulty of laying down pipelines, because to pass this PNG, they have to be a proper pipeline. So the proper pipeline was not there to deliver CNG through distribution points or pumps and ensuring uninterrupted supply. So that was one of the important problems against the government to for the passage of the CNG. So use of unleaded petrol, use of low sulfur petrol and diesel, use of the catalytic converter in vehicle, application of stringent pollution norms for the vehicle are other steps that taken to reduce the pollution in Delhi. So unleaded petrol, low sulfur petrol, diesel, catalytic converter that we have discussed. But now what are the stringent pollution level norms that we have to discuss here? Okay, so now we are going to discuss about that norms. So stringent norms for fuels were given in new fuel policy for steadily reducing the sulfur and aromatic content in petrol and diesel fuels. Okay, so stringent norms for fuels were given in new auto fuel policy that ultimately trying to reduce the sulfur and aromatic content in petrol and diesel. First norm are the nothing but what about rules and guidelines. So Euro 2 norms is there. That is, for example, it has a role to stipulate the sulfur that should be controlled at 350 parts per million in diesel and 150 parts per million in fuel. This much sulfur content had to be reduced in according to Euro norms. Aromatic hydrocarbons are to be contained at 42% of the concern. Whatever the concern is there, aromatic hydrocarbons should be less than 42%. And the goal, according to the roadmap prepared by Indian government, is to reduce the sulfur content to the 50 parts per million in petrol from the 150 parts per million in petrol and diesel, and it bring down to a level of 35% in the future. So vehicle engines will also need to be updated to carry out these all particular things. Now, the another norm is Bharat Stage 2, which is equivalent to Euro 2 norms. This norm, sometimes we have seen behind the vehicle that Bharat Stage 2 or Bharat 3, like this, these norms have been written. So it is currently in place or in use in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Pune, Surat, Kanpur, and Agra. and will be applicable to all automobiles throughout the country from April 1, 2005. That was particularly stated under the Bharat Stage 2 norm. All automobiles and fuel and petrol and diesel were to have met the Euro 3 emission specification in these 11 cities from the April 1, 2005, and have to meet Euro 4 norm by April 1, 2010, and have to meet the Euro 4 norm by April 1, 2010. The rest of the country will have a Euro 3 emission norm compliant automobile and fuel by 2010. These are all things given. And so let's make one table for this norm, so it will help us to easily understand. So if we talk about the type of vehicles, which norms are applicable, and the cities of implementation, that we have to discuss. So if we talk about type of vehicle, first is four-wheelers. And in this, the norm which is applicable, that is Bharat Stage 3. And it is applicable throughout the country since October 2010. And the second one is for four-wheelers. Another norm is applicable, that is Bharat Stage 4. And this is applicable in 13 mega cities, which include Delhi, NCR, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Surat, Kanpur, Agra, Lucknow, Solapur since April 2010. Then to three-wheelers, Bharat Stage 3 is applicable. And this is throughout the country, obviously. Since October 2010. And fourth one is two-wheelers. To that, Bharat Stage 3 is applicable. That is throughout the country since October 2010. Okay, so this way it is applicable, different norms applicable like this. So these are the norms for the two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler. Okay, now it was also observed a substantial fall in CO2 and SO2 levels has been found in Delhi between the 1997 and 2005 due to these particular things. Apart from this, to reduce air pollution, the height of the chimney industry should be increased to the highest possible level that reduces the smoke production at the ground level. Then we have to add grow a trees or plant trees, because we know that trees purify the air because they consume CO2 and release oxygen. So trees should be grown in all available places. And it is known that, so if you talk about the trees, which trees are important, if that we want to discuss that, then we can say that the if you talk about air pollutant and absorbing plants, then we can say the carbon monoxide that is absorbed by the plant like carrot, ficus, varicata, and Cassulus vulgaris. Okay. Then SO2 in neem, pipal, arjun, and albizia. Then nitrogen oxides like whiteys, pinus, juniperus, pyrus, and Rovinia. These are the different particular absorbing plants which can absorb this particular air pollutant. So this is the absorbing plants and this is the air pollutant which are going to be absorbed. Okay. Now apart from this, these are the particularly we can say the different what we can say the regions or controls or we can air pollution can be controlled by different ways. Now another way is the avoidance of air pollutant. We can avoid this air pollutant as well. So how? So industries should be set up as far off distance from the residential areas. So if they are away from the residential areas, then there will be a less air pollution in the cities. Air pollution board should enforce emission standards, frame rules and regulation for the control of air pollution. Okay, so rules and regulation should be there for the control of air pollution. Firewood, coal, oil should be completely replaced by a nuclear power, solar power, tidal power, wind power, natural gas, and electricity, which do not emit oxides of carbon, sulfur, and nitrogen in the air. Okay, that should be selected. Automobile should be minimized, which emits high amount of air pollutants, and human population growth should be checked, which is the major cause of air pollution because humans are responsible for this particular air pollution. Okay, so these are the different ways to particularly control the air pollution. Okay, so this is the thing. Now, so to particularly protect the environment, the Air Act was introduced. Okay, so the air that is Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. If we talk about this Air Act, then this act deals with preservation of air quality and control of air pollution with a concern for detrimental effects of air pollutants on human health and also on the biological world. Okay, so this act deals with the preservation of air quality and control of air pollution with a concern for detrimental effects of air pollution on the human health and also on the biological world. In 1987, important important amendment to Air Act 1981 was made, and noise was recognized as an air pollutant. Okay, so that is the what we can say about the air act. So noise pollution we will discuss in the separate lecture. Okay, and that is all about the what air pollution. I hope you understood that. Thank you everyone.